I point out what's the most important section is, and then if you have a time allowed, then you solve all the questionnaires, okay, that I gave out to you not time ago, okay. And then while you go over, and then if you have questions, and then anytime, just stop me. Okay, chapter 1. The path of PC Tech. There's no exam on this chapter 1, I believe. Okay, for test wise. Just read through that, chapter 1. Okay. And the chapter 2 is operational procedures. Okay. 완전 unofficial training. Okay, chapter 2. Just use your common sense, guys. Appearance, the trait of attack. Okay, honesty, integrity, dependability, responsibilities. Okay, this chapter is just read through and then use your common sense. Okay. And the page 30. Okay, tools for trade and the personal safety. You're familiar with what is ESD? Okay, anti-static tools. Okay, anti-static bag. Yeah.
몇 페이지입니까?
Page 30.
30.
Okay, ESD. 31 anti-static tools. What it is, what they are. Okay, and the page 34 EMI, RFI. Okay, the rest of them is read through. Page 37, important. It's going to be on the exam, I guarantee that. Troubleshooting theory. Okay, identify the problem, establish theory of probable cause. Okay, outside the case. Okay. So you need to figure out what step is first, what step is the next. Okay, so make sure the troubleshooting theory is studied. Chapter 3, visible computer. Visible computer is, as you can see, page 50. Computing part is the hardware, software, or operating system, applications. Okay. So you know what's the hardware. Okay, application is a program, right? So you can do a certain task. And page 53, computer stage, the computing process stage is the input, processing, and output, and do the CPU, central process. And the page 56 and 57, you should know what is the component is. Okay, all the components, the backside. Okay, so there's a point. Where is the RJ45 connectors port? RJ45 port. What is the DVI port? What is the HDMI port? Okay, where is serial port? Okay, where is the RJ45 port? Okay, where is the PS2 port? Okay. So you should be able to identify all the components for sure. Page 58. This is also important here. You need to identify what is the component is. Okay, SSD. There's inside SSD, video card. Okay, motherboard. Okay, power supply, memories, CPUs, heatsink. Okay. You need to identify those components. And then page 62 through next is Windows operating systems. Okay, this is just the user user level. Okay, So where is the start button? Okay, what is the transparency? What is the taskbar? Where is the taskbar? Right here, right? Where is the taskbar? When you say taskbar, point out here. Taskbar is right here, right? This is the taskbar. And then in here, there's a pinned programs. Okay, start button. Okay, notification trays on the right side corner bottom, right? So you should identify that those terminologies. Okay. Windows 8.1, there's a start screen and the tile. Okay. So get familiar with the desktops, difference Windows 7 and Windows 8. And Windows 10, there is no exam on the Windows 10, guys. On the A plus exam, but pretty much. And the page 70, okay, Macintosh 71. You know, where it's called a dock, okay, desktop. Okay. Get familiar with the desktop Windows. Okay. And if I examiner new questions, I put on the new subject. Okay, so do not skip the any section on about the Mac OS X and the Linux title. Okay, make sure do not skip those titles. Okay, and we installed the Ubuntu emulator on the VirtualBox, so you should be practice on any questions. And Windows, okay, and then page 75, when you install the operating system and then when you install the programs, what is the default installation path? C:\program files, right? What is the C:\program files parenthesis x86? What is that one for?
32-bit.
Yeah, when you install the 32-bit application software, that's the default path. Okay. And there's a personal documents folder on the 76 path. Okay. And then 77 there's a Mac OS X also. Okay. And then 78 is Linux. Okay, don't skip that. Okay. And then get familiar with where you find the Windows 7 control panel. Okay, what's in there? System tools. Okay. And command line. Okay. How do you bring the command line? Page 83, CMD command, right? From the run command, type the CMD. Okay. And the dir command is what? It's equivalent to open up the folders, right? Okay. And then Windows 8, 8.1, how to open up the control panel. Okay. How to open up the administrative tools. Okay. And command line, same thing. Windows 10, skip that. And there's a Mac OS X again. Okay. There's a system preference and utility folders. And Linux also, GNOME. Okay. So make sure don't skip the Linux part. And chapter 4, microprocessor. On the CPU section, the microprocessor, you need to identify the Intel processor and the AMD processors. Okay, they're gonna give you a socket name and then what's the most popular, most common, Intel CPU or AMD CPUs. So this kind of memorize, you have to memorize that. Okay, and then there's a process thinking. Okay. Technologies. Okay. Here's one good example here, guys. Page 131. Deciphering the process numbers. Intel and AMD use different process numbering schemes. They have to compare the multiple CPU with the similar names, such as Core i5. Okay. So Intel Core i7-5775C processor, for example. Okay. Intel Core is a brand name, right, for the Intel. and the i7 is brand modifier, and the 5 is generation, okay, and then 775 is SKU number for the Intel process, and C is alpha suffix. C indicates that it's a desktop processor with integrated graphics socket, LGA 1150, and I believe now is 1150 is discontinued, which I have 1150 motherboard, but when I try to replace it, I can find it. The store doesn't carry anymore. Okay. So this is a very good example. Okay. So now when you see the Intel Core i7-5775C processor, now you know what it is, right? And then you need to install how to install the CPU and AMD. We already demonstrate that, and then everybody knows how to install CPU now. And then thermal paste to make sure. What is the thermal paste role? Thermal paste. Why do you need to put the thermal paste?
CPU helps the heat from the CPU get to the cooler.
Right. So you can prevent the hot air, right? Okay. That's exam questions. Okay. So that's the CPU. And the RAM, chapter 5. RAM, you need to identify different type of RAM, DDR2, DDR3, okay? Maybe they're going to show the pictures, memory sticks, and then what kind of memory it is, okay? So by looking at it, you should be able to identify what kind of RAM it is, okay? And memory type. Okay. When do you need the more RAM, by the way? The more you have a RAM, the more better performance, right? So you need the more memories when your virtual memory is being used a lot, okay? The page file. If you use the page file a lot, that means what? You are run out of the memories, okay? Page 171, Ready Boost. I'm not sure you're gonna have an example on this. There's a USB thumb drive you can use boost up the memories. Okay, that's another options. Okay. Okay. And you should be able to install the laptop memories, okay? Have you guys installed the laptop memory practice, right? Okay, good. Okay, there's a testing RAM. Okay, BIOS. When you have an exam, there's a question that where do you modify the system configuration, like boot orders or hard drive settings, that kind of stuff. And then list it says BIOS. Second is CMOS. And then third is Windows OS. D is a control panel. What is the answer?
BIOS.
BIOS. Okay. CMOS and BIOS is pretty much similar, but it's different, guys. Okay. The best answer is the BIOS. So when you see the possible two answers are accurate, but when you have the kind of questions, the answer is best answer. Okay? You have to choose the best answers, guys. So BIOS.
CMOS에 관한 퀘스천이 나온 적이 있을 때
네, 많이 나옵니다.
어떻게 나옵니까?
Well, where do you go to boot sequence and the multiple choice? Okay, most common. Okay, and okay, how to get to CMOS? Usually go to delete key or F1 key or F2 keys, right?
그러면 CMOS하고 BIOS하고 정확하게 구분할 수 있는 방법. 그 퀘션이 나왔을 때.
BIOS is the answer.
BIOS요. most of them.
Okay, if you look at the page 194 and then look at the page, let's say, page 194, CMOS, separate memory chip called CMOS chips, stores the information that describes specific device. Okay. So BIOS is a basic input-output system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the one. Okay, and then
So CMOS program support to BIOS.
how do you
이렇게 할수
explain that,
있어요?
Joseph?
Isn't CMOS the memory? CMOS is
CMOS is a memory chips,
memory,
Memory
chip,
chips.
yes.
separate memory chip in the built in the motherboard.
So
Okay.
so BIOS is like the program to change it and then stored in the CMOS, isn't it?
Yes.
Store in the CMOS. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Controller.
So basically, when you BIOS is basically check the input output devices, all that, and then those information is saved in the CMOS.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right?
BIOS program can
Right.
control the CMOS
Yeah.
chips.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I believe the BIOS and CMOS interchangeably being used, by the way. So that's kind of tricky.
예.
Okay.
어떻게 하셨다고요? 금방?
Interchangeably using BIOS, CMOS.
예, 예.
Okay. So you should be able to get familiar with the CMOS setting configuration, how to utilize, change around, change the default to put sequence, hard drive. Okay. And then page 214 is a power self-test. You should know the beeping code. Okay. Beep code, there's the most common things. Okay. Power self-test. And then if you want to clear the CMOS, for example, someone is messed up to put the password on the, when Windows boot up. Okay, you need to clear the CMOS. How do you clear up the CMOS? Okay, there's a jumper settings, CMOS clear jumpers. Okay, so you just move that and then put it back in, then we should be clear that.
How about you backup battery?
Batteries,
step?
you can do that too. Batteries, take it out too. Okay.
파워 비핑이 몇 페이지였습니까?
Page 214. There's a memory bit code and a video bit code. So if you know memories, there's a different code. If your video card is not there, there's a bit code there. Okay. Chapter 7, motherboard. There's no specific exam on the motherboard side, except for you should be identified inside the components. Okay, where's the memory stick? You put it in. Where the CPU is. Okay. CPU sockets, all that. And chipset. And also there's a 245. You maybe need to get study harder on the PCI Express. Okay, PCI sections.
PCI 몇 페이지입니까?
Page 245.
245.
Okay, memory card especially. Okay. Okay, read through. Okay, expansion card. There's an expansion card section. But study hard on PCI and then PCI Express, PCIe. Okay. And you should know how to install the memory expansion card. And then what's the next step if you install the memory? Not the memory. Video card. You install the video card. Okay, what's the next step you do?
Drivers.
Driver install, okay? Make sure the next step is driver install. That's one of the exam. You will see. Okay. And click, okay. Keep in mind on that. Power supply, I don't see any question on the power supply, so I'm gonna just read through that and then skip the power supply. Okay, only thing you remember is what is UPS. Okay, not the United Postal Service, guys. Okay, that's the uninterrupted power supply, that supply. Okay, what's the role? Okay, that's the UPS. Okay. Question page 294. PCI Express 6-pin power connector. Okay, when you plug in the PCI power connector, and then there's an ATX 4-pin CPU connectors. So get familiar with that. Okay, that's the only thing you can think about the power supply.
금방 그 PCI 커넥터 20
Yeah, when you use a PCI Express
24.
connector and then the ATX 4-pin connector. Okay.
PCI는 24 커넥터.
네?
금방 24
Page
커넥터였습니까?
page 294. Sorry.
294.
Yes. Forgot those silence. Okay. So page 294, there is exam tip. Okay, keep in mind on that. Okay. Hard drive, guys. Hard drive technologies. Solid state drive. What's the benefits of solid state drive? What's the difference with the other hard drive? Okay, and then you need to know how to install the SATA drive, PATA drive. Okay. And then probably you get familiar with the SATA drive, the data speed. Okay. And the RAID. I explained numerous times, guys. RAID is going to be on the exam, guys. What is the RAID 1? What is RAID 0? What is RAID 5? Okay. RAID 10. Okay, so remember that. So question is, if you have a 2 hard drive, you want a maximum performance, okay? It doesn't say anything about the tolerance. Then what's the answer? What RAID settings?
One or 0?
No, RAID 1 is mirroring. When you write, mirroring is whatever you write, it's going to be duplicated on another hard drive, okay? RAID 0 is disk stripping, okay? Evenly writing and reading. So that's fast, okay? But if you lose the one hard drive, then you'll be lost everything, right? So that's the things. So RAID 0 is the answers.
RAID 0?
Yeah, RAID 0 is the answer. If you want a fast performance, but
Yeah,
you don't care about the data loss or anything like
yeah.
that, then it's going to be RAID 0. Okay? But if you need a fault tolerance, okay, then RAID 1. Okay? Once you get the hard drive, SCSI hard drive or standard hard drive, if hard drive does not detect it, then what you have to do? You load the hard drive, install hard drive, but hard drive is not detected, then what? What's the problem? Just driver issues, okay? The OS doesn't detect drivers, SATA drive or SCSI drive, then you need to download the drivers. How do you install the driver in the middle of the Windows installations? Press F6, remember guys? press F6, then you got opportunity to load the drivers. Okay. That's a real situation, but I'm not going. I'm saying that it's not going to exam, I guess. But don't be panicked when you're doing the install. You have installed hard drive, everything, but during the installation, there it said no master storage drive found or something like that. Okay, even though you install and the hard drive is good. Okay, that's your driver issues, guys. Okay. Okay, order detections, boot order. Okay, boot order is what? Go to CMOS, right? And then usually I'll auto detect all the hard drive that should be safe. Okay,
몇 페이지죠?
page 336,
Yeah.
order detection, CMOS. Okay, and then chapter 10, implementing hard drive. You should know what the partition is, volume, okay? MBR, master boot records, okay? And then basic disk and dynamic disk, what's the difference is, okay? And then what's the formatting, okay? Hard drive format, okay? And you should get the file systems, FAT file system, FAT32, NTFS, and then page 359, fragmentations. Okay, one of the common exam is your computer is very slow. Very slow. What do? The answer is the fragmentations, guys. Okay. So that will fragment. FAT32 NTFS competitions. Page 364, compression, encryption, disk quotas. Okay, you need to get to know the definitions. Okay,
몇 페이지야?
page 364.
페이지 364.
If you solved all the questions, the exam that I gave you, then you know exactly what section you need to study. Okay, but I'm pointing out the most important sections regardless of what the exam is. Okay, and of course that I include the exam, by the way. Page 366, I'm not going to skip this because there's a file system in macOS section and the file system in Linux. Make sure you gotta read that through. Okay. And then page 371, disk management tools. You should get familiar with these tools. Okay. Disk initializations, formatting, online, offline stuff. Okay. Dynamic disk. You should get familiar with this. Simple volumes, spanning volumes, okay? Strap the volume, mirror the volumes. This is soft RAID. Oh, by the way, this is good news. I know it's a RAID 1. The answer is RAID 1, okay? The fault tolerance, right? But it's going to be hardware RAID 1 or software RAID 1. What's the best performance-wise? What is the answer? Hardware RAID 1 better or software RAID 1 better?
하드웨어.
There you go. Hardware RAID. Okay. This is kind of a trick question I didn't cover. You know the hardware RAID is what it is, okay? But the answer is, the question is, what's the best performance scenarios in RAID 1 in the hardware, or RAID 0 in hardware RAID, or RAID 1 in software RAID, or no, RAID 0 in the hardware RAID, okay? So hardware RAID is performance is best, okay? So if your money is allowed, then you're gonna set up the hardware RAID, okay? And then page 382, mounting partitions folders. That's kind of practical. You may have that. You have to understand the concept, guys. The mounting RAID. Okay. Formatting partitions, we already covered that. Okay. Error checking, page 390. Okay, maintenance, error checking. Check disk, CHK, DSK. Remember, this is on the exam, guys. Check disk questions. Page 392, defermentations on the exam. And page 394, disk cleanup. Okay. And there's a troubleshooting RAID. Okay, troubleshooting RAID, page 41. Let's read through here. Troubleshooting RAID. For the most part, drive problems in the RAID array are identical to those seen on individual drive. There are a couple of errors unique to RAID. However, they need their own separate discussion. Drive not recognized. If I use hardware RAID and the configuration format doesn't recognize one of the drive, first check to make sure the drive are powered and that they are connected to the proper connections. This is especially true of motherboard with the onboard RAID, require you to use only certain special RAID connectors. So, drive not recognized, guys. The hardware troubleshootings. When you have a drive not recognized, usually instead of RAID configuration, RAID 0 and then 0, 1 or something. That's indicate there's identifiers. Okay, so you can tell that this is a port 0 or port 1 or something like that. Okay. So, very good. Okay. Page 11, essential peripherals. Just read through this chapter, guys. Just get what's the difference USB 2 and USB 3. Okay. Firewire ports. Okay. Just read. Oh, page 430. KVM switch. Guys, KVM. This can be an exam, but it's most common in IT, okay? KVM is keyboard, V is video, M is mouse, okay? So you have a one monitor, one keyboard, one mouse, right? Okay? And then this KVM switch device is controlled the multiple computers, okay? So each server, each machine doesn't have to have every monitors and keyboard mouse. This KVM device can handle that, okay?
거기 몇 페이지입니까? 430페이지?
430페이지, 430, page 430, and then, okay. And the rest of it is just read through, guys. The peripheral side is nothing particular, okay?
시험 치실 때 어떤 게 많이 틀리셨어요? 틀린지 아닌지 모르죠. 끝나가요. 어떤 게 틀린지 모르죠.
If you don't know, then that's the wrong answers.
그럼
Okay,
제일
if you know,
헷갈린 그 퀘스천이 뭐였습니까? 여기 지금까지 보실 때 그렇죠.
don't.
아까 찍어주시긴 하는데 제일 기억나는 거 하실 때
So
여기서 보면
almost 10 years ago, so it's been a while.
10 years.
Okay, my knowledge is
Ah,
going to
okay.
be out of date, guys. But principle is the same.
근데
Okay.
뭐 3년에 한 번씩 갱신해야 된다면서요? 맞는 거예요?
No, yes, but you have to continue educations. So you have to go through A plus, right? And then later on you achieve the Network Plus,
아,
and then you
It's
achieve
okay.
the Microsoft.
It's okay.
Yeah, and then you go to the some kind of seminar, IT trainings.
크레딧?
Yeah, then you can get the credit. And
그러면
then once you get the A plus certification, there is no
Expiration.
there's no expire at the moment. Okay. I'm not sure the current A plus there's expiry date on it or not, but my A plus certification doesn't show any expiry date. So, and then once you got the A plus certifications, okay, nobody gonna ask you. You have to renew the A plus certified. Okay. Only thing you need is upgrade the Microsoft certifications or the Cisco, CCNA. Yeah, you have to update. Someone said you need to upgrade, then tell them that you're crazy. Okay, everybody knows what the CD and DVD and Blu-ray is, all that stuff. And if Blu-ray disc is installed but it detected as a DVD-ROM, then what do you do? install the Blu-ray drivers, right? And then you have a data about the 2 gig data. What's the best solution media for the backup? CD, DVD, thumb drive, hard drive.
2 gig.
What? When you have this kind of questions, best. Why do you come here and ask these questions? What answer you expected to
Yeah, because
choose?
CD, DVD is very limited.
You have a 2 gig of hard drive data need to back up. Okay?
Yeah.
The list is multiple choice. One is CD, second DVD, third is a thumb drive, and fourth is regular hard drive.
Regular hard drive.
Huh?
2 gig.
What is the answer?
Regular hard drive.
No. No. They expected DVD.
DVD.
DVD is maximum is a 4 gig hard drive, 4 gig
Yeah.
capacity, right?
Yeah.
I know it's kind of they're not gonna have a thumb drive on it, but there's similar options is there, but you have to
Yeah,
get the
now
best
it's a thumb drive.
answers. Okay.
Capacity is cheaper.
Your CD on the exam. I saw that. So that's it, and then chapter 12, building a PC. Okay. As you said, building a PC. Okay, this is a lab hands-on, guys. Okay, so you building a PC, gaming PCs. Okay, depends on what kind of computer you will build. Okay, you got a gaming PC, then you may need a lot of memories and very good graphic card, right? And if you workstation for the office, then probably it's low level. And if you have a company uses for PC, then you have to buy a professional version, not the home edition, guys, right? So there's a Windows 8 installations. Okay. There's a Macintosh installations. Okay. And there's a Windows Easy Transfer for the migration from old PC to new PCs. So there's a utility that you can use. Okay. That's the building PCs, guys. Page 13, Windows under the hood. Okay. There's a registry. Okay, there's 5 registry common components, guys, you have to get familiar with. And in real practical environments, you will get familiar with the HKey local machines. Okay, that is a 9 out of 10. When you IT industry, when you deal with a registry, troubleshooting, 9 out of 10 you will go to local local machines. Okay. And for the exam wise, they may ask you what is the registry keys. Okay, get familiar with registry key. Okay.
레시키가 좀 많이 나오는데 조금 헷갈리는 부분이 없나요?
No.
문제,
It's not going to ask you a very difficult question on the registry key. I don't think the A plus ask about the registry key questions, by the way. Okay. On the service wise, the start, next start, you know, I showed the last time, right? How to stop the services in that command. And how to open up the task manager, right? Control Shift Escape. Okay, by pressing Control Shift Escape, you can open up the task manager. That's on the exam A plus, man. You have to remember. Okay, and performance. And there's Puffman MSC performance tools, so you can monitor the CPU, memory, disk utilization, and then networking.
몇 페이지 갑니까?
Page 540, 549. Okay. chapter 14, users group and permission. This is hands-on, guys. You actually need to practice lab in order to answer properly, guys. Okay? It's this section you cannot. It's hard to memorize the answers. Okay? For example, copy command, copy and move command, copy and move for file. Okay, what's the permission? Final permission will be. Okay, so you gotta actually do the action to see how it changes. Okay, users group, NTFS permissions. Okay, you need to know how to share the folders, guys. Right? You got hands-on how to share the folder, how to share the printers. And administrative share is what? The share name and the dollar sign, right? Yeah, and okay. When you share the web computer name / share name dollar sign, that means that's administrative share. Nobody can see it. Okay.
그거는 어떻게 한 번만 더 해주시죠.
I think I showed it last time. If I demo here, okay, good example. That's one of the good example here. I'm gonna share this one, guys. The C drive. Okay, on the C drive. Now, if you look at my computer through the network, okay, you see the temp drive, right? Because I save it. Okay. However, if I create the folder. Admin, okay, and I'm going to share this. Right click and then share with property. I'm sharing, share. Okay, take it back again, advanced share. Share this folder. Instead of admin, I type the admin $.
아,
Okay, apply. Oh, sorry, the admin is already reserved that, so I'm gonna change the Daniel. So, okay, apply. Okay, close. Now, if you browse my computer, you are not gonna see admin folders. You only see temp folders
예,
because I
보이지 않는데.
shared admin share.
그럼 어드민은
오케이.
보이진 않지만 쉐어는 돼 있는 거예요?
Yes,
그럼 어떻게 들어가요?
just whack computer name and share name is Daniel so $sign. You have to put a $sign also. Okay. So that's the administrative access.
어,
And USC, you need to know how to turn off the USC.
어드민 방을 어떻게 들어갑니까? 여기 나타나지 않는데.
Yeah, you have to manually type in exactly, you have to know the path. Okay? So, whack computer name, my computer name,
예?
okay, and the slash, and then admin, right? The folder is admin, but share name is Daniel so $sign, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to type in Daniel, DNIELSUH, and $sign. Okay? And probably net use command, you can do it. Net use. Okay? And then asterisk, and then $sign.
넷 유저는 왜 칩니까?
Mapping, drive
Ah.
mapping.
드라이브 매핑을
Yes.
하는 거야? 아, 찾으라고요?
Yeah, drive
아,
mappings. Okay? So, for example, what's your computer name and then share folders? Let's see.
아, 예, 들어가지는데
What's your
그
computer
안에
name?
파일 하나
What is your
넣어보시죠.
computer name?
컴퓨터 네임.
Yeah, what is your computer name? Either one. Jose.
Admin PC30,
Admin PC,
first one.
admin PC30?
Uh-huh.
Okay, look. Okay, you got a password in there. What is
Oh,
the
yeah, admin and then
admin?
Microsoft password.
Admin and the Microsoft password, right?
그럼 아까 쉐어 만드는 거 한 번만 더 보여주시죠.
And then what's the user?
Maybe regular password?
Yeah. Local admin is a user account?
Yeah. That's what I'm logged into.
Admin. Okay, your computer name is admin-pt30, right? Username is admin, right?
Uh-huh.
And the password, Microsoft password, PASSW0RD. This one should work, otherwise something wrong. Seems okay.
Network.
Okay, let's skip that next time.
Yeah.
We'll do that, okay? I should demonstrate later on. And just to leave. Okay, let's take a short break. Can you pause the recording? Okay?